Good morning, Russell families. You are listening to this presentation because you have a student in grades TK through second grade. I am Maestra Gil. I am the instructional coach for our dual language program. And what that means is that I support our program teachers, but I also support all our staff here at Russell, including our administrative staff, Mr. Chang, our principal, and Mrs. Haas, our assistant principal. What I'm about to do right now is I'm going to share my screen with you and walk you through the presentation that we shared with our families either Tuesday afternoon at 4 or Wednesday morning at 9. Because we enabled translation in both our sessions, the recording was only in Spanish. And so I want to go ahead and record a version of this in English for you to follow, just so that we can make sure that you get the information. So you have a TK through second grader. And what that means is that they are enrolled in our dual language program, right? We started the workshop with a few words from our principal or our assistant principal. And I'll summarize for you what you missed. Our principal, Mr. Chang, basically welcomed us to a very unique year, a very unique learning experience. It is not what we anticipated as teachers, and I imagine it's not what you anticipated as a parent. He mentioned that things are going to change. Things are going to look a little different, but what doesn't change is our commitment to our students, our families, you, our parents. That doesn't change. That will remain constant in this virtual platform, right? And he also gave a warm welcome to you all. We went over some norms. If you were present, we went over the features of our Zoom application. And it's important for you to note this because your scholar will be engaging in an online platform via Zoom and will familiarize himself or herself with these features. And just very briefly, we have the sound button on the left side. We have the option of either muting or unmuting certain things, right? As we're participating in a session. And your child will be expected to mute and unmute himself or herself as they're engaging in a lesson with their instructor, with their teacher. Video, we encouraged our parents to turn on their video so that we can see their faces. For many of us, this is the way that we introduce each other for the start of this school year. When your child begins online learning, he or she will be expected to turn on their audio. Oops, let me go back, sorry. Simply because as a teacher, imagine I need to be able to see your scholar's face so that I know how to respond appropriately to his or her needs, right? And if we turn the video camera off, I won't be able to do that as an instructor. Participants, number 3, you can see who's in the session, who's not in the session. In the afternoon and the morning, they saw each other as parents, right? As students, are going to be able to see one another as well. The chat feature, we practice that extensively throughout the session. We use the chat room as a place to write down questions, say hello, type in language preferences for the presentation as well. And finally, we walk them through the button, the leave button, which is this button right here. And I was very cautious to tell them that once they press that button, they leave the session. And that will be the same case for your scholar when they're going through this experience with their teacher. They leave that Zoom session. It's almost like they left the classroom, right? The physical classroom. We also talked about interpretation. This is one of the cool features in Zoom, that we can enable interpretation. And what that means is that as I'm leading the presentation in Spanish, my interpreter will be simultaneously translating what I'm saying in another Zoom room, so to speak. And our interpretation is usually led by our assistant principal, Mrs. Haas. And we gave parents instructions of how to go about doing that, muting the button, and of course, selecting English as the language of preference. Throughout the school year, we will be hosting workshops for our parents about our various online applications, and we will be leading workshops by enabling translation. So if you didn't get to experience it this time, you are welcome to join us at workshops later in the year, and you'll be able to see this pretty cool feature live as a participant. Our agenda for our workshop: number one, what is distance learning? Number two, excuse me, expectations for student behavior. Number three, tools for success for our scholars and for you as a parent. And we concluded our session with resources and important dates for you to keep in mind. Every time we have a workshop with our parents, we always want to be grounded and ground ourselves with the mission and vision of our Garden Grove School District. Our school does not work in isolation. We work in conjunction under these Garden Grove goals and mission and vision statement. The first of which are academic skills. And what we mean by that are developing the academic content, academic English, and those scholarly habits throughout your child's K through 12 educational experience. The second one are personal skills. And what we mean by that is the motivation, the growth mindset, and also addressing those social emotional needs. That's going to be a huge focus for us as we move to online platforms this year. And it's actually going to be incorporated within the daily schedule of your scholar's teacher. And finally, we know that no student can thrive when they don't feel safe, when they don't feel accepted in their school environment. And so climate and culture is part of that goal. And as a school, we strive to develop a positive learning environment, and one that validates all cultures and all learning modalities. And finally, we have our last goal, which is lifelong success. And what we mean by that is by talking to kids, talking to our students about college, career readiness. We are an AVID school, and AVID is a program that inculcates that desire for lifelong learning. And so those are our three main district and program goals. As a dual immersion school, however, we also have three program goals. And I know that you've seen this visual before. If you've been with us throughout all these years in dual language, we are now entering our third official year as a dual language program. Those of you second grade parents, you've seen this before. If you're in kinder, you saw it in your kinder orientation as well. But just as a refresher, as a program, we have three pillars. The first of which is bilingualism and biliteracy. We want our students to be fluent in two languages, English and Spanish. The second pillar, grade level academic achievement. That means your child will be learning kindergarten standards, second grade standards, first grade standards. Your child will not be learning something different than another kinder student or first grade student at another Garden Grove school or California school for that matter. He or she will be learning the same content that a typical second grader does or will do this year in the state of California. And finally, cross-cultural competence. That means they're developing their global awareness, them understanding and appreciating their culture, but not only their culture, but other cultures, and building those bridges, making those connections between their culture and other cultures as well. And we do that throughout the year with cultural programming. Some of you have attended our Day of the Dead celebration. We also did a couple of events for Tet or Lunar New Year. Those are just some examples of what we do at our school site. We also reminded our parents that as a dual language program, we follow the 90-10 model. And what that means is that 90% of instruction in kindergarten is Spanish, 10% in English. And now we moved on to second grade now. And so you see the gradual change in the percentages. Second grade will be 80% in Spanish and now 20% in English, right? And again, you will see that reflected in their daily schedule. So we began with this question: what is distance learning? And when we talk about distance learning, we describe it in 3 ways. Distance learning is remote. And what does that mean? That our scholars will not be here in person at our campus, right? What that also means is that their classrooms will be conducted via an online platform, through an online platform. And for grades TK through 2nd grade, that platform is Seesaw. Our distance learning is also rigorous. And what that means is that it's standard-based instruction. We will be covering TK standards, 2nd grade standards, 1st grade standards, right? It is not something new that teachers are creating. They're not coming up with things to teach. Oh no, it is still our California standards. But what rigorous also means is that it's going to be a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning. And we're going to talk about that in the next coming slides of what that means. Distance learning is also responsive. And what we mean by responsive is that as instructors, we are going to be addressing the social emotional needs of our students. Let's face it, we're all dealing with this pandemic in different ways. We are dealing with trauma. This is a traumatic event for many of us. And we are going to be as responsive as we can to those needs of our scholars. Responsive also means that as a teacher, I will be meeting the instructional needs of my students, and I may want to meet with students one-on-one. I may want to meet with them in a small group, or I will be conducting my classroom whole group, right? So those learning ways will be varied throughout the day, right? What we also mention is typically on the first day of school, you walk your kiddo to their classroom, you see the teacher at the door, you open that door, you take a cute picture perhaps first day of school. Well, it's gonna look a little different. We're not gonna be able to open that classroom door. And I know that's difficult for some of us to accept, especially our teachers, right? So rather than opening that classroom door this year, your scholar is going to be opening a Chromebook or a laptop or another personal device that you may have at home. And I know that this change is going to be a challenge for us. But keep in mind that every day when that teacher opens that door, when that scholar opens the door to enter the classroom, now it's going to change. They're going to be opening that Chromebook, right? And that will be their classroom this year as well. I also am going to take the time real quick to remind you that if for some reason you still need a device, you still need a Chromebook, you are welcome to call our office, set up an appointment with Miss Chrissy to come and pick up the Chromebook. If you had a problem with your Chromebook that was issued to you last year, you can also give us a call and make sure that we get that device for you. There will be another opportunity for you to pick up a device or exchange one on Friday, February 21st, and we'll get to that slide a little bit later. Sorry, I apologize. I've been talking all week and my voice is feeling it. I apologize. So once your scholar opens that Chromebook, they need keys. They need keys to keep that door open, so to speak, right? And their key is their student login. That Chromebook will not work, will not function if A, you don't have internet access at home, and B, if your scholar does not enter the right username and password. Their username consists of 3 components: their graduation year, their first initial, and their complete last name. Why the graduation year? This username, this login, is going to remain constant throughout their Garden Grove journey. So from TK through 12th grade, they will have the same username and the same password, right? So if you look at my example right there, it says 26 J Fernandez. J Fernandez is going to graduate from Garden Grove Unified in the year 2026. His first initial J, it could be Jacob, it could be Joshua, it could be Jose, right? Fernandez, his last name, and as you notice, he will add the @ggusd.net. His password will also remain constant. That'll be his birthday, January 31st, 2010. And his 8-digit birthday will translate to 01/31/2010. And please don't fret. You will be getting instructions on how to log into your child's Chromebook. And you will also be getting their username and password from your scholar's teacher. You are also welcome to give us a call in the office. Our front office staff can look this up for your child. Piece of cake will be able to help you with that as well. Once your child gets in, he has one of two options. As a 4th through 6th grader, he is using Google Classroom. As a TK through 3rd grader, we will be using Seesaw. And we'll be explaining that a little further. When they enter Seesaw, this is an example of what their page will look like. This is Maestra Quinzine, our TK teacher. This is from last year. But as you enter Seesaw, you will be welcome to a dashboard, and there are a couple of things that your scholar's teacher will be reviewing with you and your scholar as the year begins. So now we're going to get to the synchronous and asynchronous part. We're going to explain that a little further so that we're all clear about what's happening during this time. During synchronous time, you are seeing the teacher face to face, kind of like what we're doing right now. Well, actually not what we're doing right now. If you had attended one of the sessions, right, 4 o'clock and 9 a.m., that session itself is a synchronous time. Why? Because I was the instructor, I was a teacher, right? And the parents were my students, so to speak, right? I was presenting them with information. They could see my face. We could interact. It was a live Zoom session. If a parent had a question, I gave them immediate feedback. I answered their question. I supported them. That's what our teachers will be conducting. Synchronous lessons, live sessions. And in a live session, I could have also pulled a small group of parents and clarified one item with them. I could have also pulled one parent and clarified their question. But throughout that session, I was modeling synchronous instruction because we were all live through Zoom at the same time. Throughout this year, we're also going to have asynchronous time. And what does that mean? Asynchronous is what I'm modeling right now. You are watching this pre-recorded video. You are watching it at your own time, at your own pace. You could pause me. You can fast forward me right now. That is asynchronous time. And I uploaded it on YouTube, right? YouTube is the platform. So when we kickstart our year, students are going to have access to pre-recorded mini lessons, right? And they will be able to access them via Seesaw. They will be assigned independent work, right, that they will complete at their pace. And some of these videos that teachers upload on their Seesaw could be previews to a story. It could be some kind of review of a math lesson, for example, that they might have reviewed in class. The purpose of asynchronous time is that students are making meaning. They're trying to understand the material the teacher covered throughout the day, right? It is their time to digest that information, right? And let me go back real quick. Let me go back. I included these icons. Synchronous time is done via Zoom. Asynchronous time via Seesaw, right? Or in our case right now as parents, you access this presentation via YouTube, right? Next, we showed parents a quick video from our assistant principal, and she wanted to walk them through what synchronous and asynchronous instruction looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and play that video for you.
I would like to share a story with you today in hopes that it'll help you understand better the difference between synchronous and asynchronous learning. Let's pretend we were planning a potluck. And in this potluck, we need to think about when it will be, what time it will be, where it will be, how long will it last, who will we invite, and most importantly, what will we eat? And so as we're doing this, we call together a meeting, a planning meeting, have a cup of coffee together, and begin discussing in depth what we'd like this potluck to be like. Because we're together, because we're talking in depth, and because we're live, this is a synchronous experience. But not only synchronous experiences are needed for this potluck, we need some asynchronous ones too. And so in an asynchronous manner, some people will go to the recipe book and find their favorite recipe and make that for the potluck. Other people will be daring and try something new. So they'll find a cookbook and begin to read carefully and figure out how to make a delicious cake they've always wanted to try. Yet we'll also invite some young people that'll probably go straight to YouTube, right? And find the easiest recipe they can make. Now, all these experiences are done asynchronously. Why? Because they're done by themselves, and in so doing, they're either reading to learn, they might be taking notes, or they might be watching videos to learn, but they're doing it by themselves. Now, others will have to prepare for the potluck in a tutoring method. This little guy and these young kids haven't cooked before. So this one might need more tutoring, as we would say, and the others might meet in a small group to get this task done. They experience asynchronous learning as they're working together, some with just one person, and that need more help, and others in a small group. Now everyone is together. We're all here to enjoy a delicious meal. Some people prepared in a synchronous manner and others in an asynchronous manner, depending on what they made. Now, when we're all together, it's a synchronous activity because we're all together live. There's lots of discussion. There's lots of questions. People are giving feedback. They might be saying, yummy, this is delicious. Or they might be asking, can I have the recipe, please? I've tried that in the past, and I can't say my recipes or attempts come out as well or as good as the ones I tasted at the potluck. But either way, the synchronous experience is very important because in it you have discussions, there's questions, there's conversations, and best of all, there's feedback. Now in this experience, there might be other types of feedback. Some people might be adding lots of salt and pepper to that meal or to that dish. And it makes the person who prepared it think, I might have to go back to my recipe and adjust accordingly. Other people might notice, wow, when people take a bite of my dish, they keep drinking lots of water. I wonder if it's too spicy or too salty. They might need to make adjustments as well. Other types of feedback might be, well, wow, I noticed my dish went untouched. Nobody ate it. Maybe it's not as appetizing. Maybe it's because I made it in 5 minutes and my bean salad isn't something they wanted. So if I want to continue to be invited to potlucks in the future, I might need to take some more time on what I prepare. So that's the story of our big potluck. Think about what you learned. The differences are synchronous and asynchronous learning. And think about if you have maybe any questions about the two.
That was our assistant principal, Mrs. Haas. She joined us in our session as well. And I just want to let you know that we will be posting that cute video, that cute explanation on our YouTube channel as well. So we will, all these videos that we're showing, we will make sure that you have access to them as well. And you can, again, watch them at your own pace, your own time. Oops, I just realized hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, I just realized that I didn't do this in Spanish, in English, I'm sorry. Oh, I did, but the heading is in Spanish. Sorry, I'm gonna have to correct that. So a couple of quick details, a couple of quick specifics about our dual language program. When we're talking about, this should say synchronous and this should read asynchronous in English. I apologize for that. When we're talking about synchronous instruction, as you heard Mrs. Haas say, in a dual language classroom, instruction will be completely in Spanish. So I'm talking to you right now in English, but our instructors, our teachers will be leading the entire time in Spanish. And remember, we're a dual language program. We can't do it. We can't do anything different than what would normally happen in a Russell classroom. But I know what you're thinking. But maestra, I don't speak Spanish. I'm going to be sitting next to my kiddo, or I'm going to have another adult, nanny, sitting next to my kiddo. How are they going to be able to help them when they're not understanding the teacher? Maybe there's a clarification I need. There's some support that I need. Well, you can use the chat feature on Zoom. You are welcome to type in a question in English. Maybe the teacher gave some specific instruction and you want that clarified. The teacher can only reply to you in English through a chat room. She can't break code. And what we mean by breaking code is that she needs to remain speaking Spanish throughout that experience. Remember, we are an immersion program. And what that means is that your child is going to be immersed in that language. He's going to be hearing it throughout the day, just as he or she would in our traditional Russell physical classroom, right? But I understand that as a parent, you are going to have questions. The only way the teacher will be able to answer those during that synchronous time will be in the chat room, right? But again, our teachers will have office hours. Some will do it in the morning, some will do it in the afternoon to answer some of those specific questions. We are here to support you and we want to make you feel successful, but we also want to remind you that there are pillars to our program. One of them is maintaining that Spanish code throughout the day. During asynchronous time, that means that the Seesaw, right? Our Seesaw platform, those homework assignments, those activities that a child will be completing, they will be in Spanish. They will be in Seesaw and they will be expected to complete them in Spanish. If you're just starting this program, I know have a question, but my child doesn't know any Spanish yet. How is that possible? I can't explain it better than just to have you see that experience. Our children are sponges. They are going to pick up the language. The teacher will model those activities. And that goes for the synchronous time too. As you're hearing that the teacher presenting, she will be using different strategies. I'm not using very good strategies right now as I'm presenting this information, but she will be using gestures. She will be using visuals to explain the material that she's covering. I'm not doing that right now. Well, I am using a visual. I'm using this PowerPoint, this slides presentation to you. That's a visual, right? But our teachers will be using different strategies. And you will be picking up on those strategies as well, right? And learning some of the language too. Isn't that gonna be fun? But I will assure you that all those assignments will have bilingual instructions. There will be instructions for you as a parent to help your child at home in English and in Spanish, okay? During asynchronous time, we will also be requiring our students, to be reading 20 minutes a day. Your Scholars teacher will give you specifics about reading websites that each grade level is using to make accessible some Spanish material for your child. We pause for questions, but we save that also to the end. We're gonna cover the expectations for student behavior. And one of the biggest expectations is, guess what, folks? We're starting at 8 a.m. Teachers will be taking daily attendance. And I know what you're thinking, 8 a.m., oh my goodness, that's gonna be a struggle. The struggle is real. Well, keep in mind that if we were at Russell physically, right, what time would we be starting? 8 a.m., right? 8 a.m. The other expectation is that students remain online throughout the day, different parts of the day. Don't fret. I know one of the questions that came up was, does that mean my scholar will be like on the screen all the time? No, not necessarily, right? We know our children, what developmental stages they're in right now, and they are going to be built-in breaks, time away from the computer. your teacher will give you more information about that. And again, the expectation is that they complete that independent work, those assignments. Now, that doesn't mean they turn it in at 2:20 end of school day. No, they're going to have time. They're going to have time. I know we have a lot of working families, and some of you may want to complete some of that work when you get off work, right? And that might be 5 p.m. That might be after dinner time. So we completely understand that. Another expectation is that they embody and represent the 4 characteristics of a Russell Ram, and that's being respectful, accountable, mindful, and solution seeking. Your scholar's teacher will go into that a little bit further and explain what she means by being respectful in an online platform, what it means to be accountable in an online platform. And I can give you one example of being mindful, right? We are in an online platform, but guess what? We are still students. So mindful could be like, we don't want to engage in Zoom in our PJs, right? We want to look like students. Our teachers will look like teachers. We're not going to see them in their PJs. So being mindful of how do I look and how am I acting as a student virtually, right? Am I online, eating my snack right there as I'm listening to the teacher? That wouldn't normally happen in a school setting, right? So that's not the expectation for a virtual environment either, right? They're going to be talking to you a little more in depth about those kinds of things. Tools, a couple of tools for success. Excuse me. A workstation. We recommend a workstation that's free of distractions, and we understand that your family situations, your household situations are very different, right? But we recommend having all materials at hand, a comfortable spot. That comfortable spot could be a chair. We recommend not a bed, just because we don't want that to be too comfortable either, right? And have it be consistent. So one of the things I mentioned at our workshop was, this is a point of conversation as a family, right? Depending on the household situation, you want to have an agreement as a family that, for example, the dinner table is going to be the scholar's workstation. So what will that mean? That the rest of the family members are not going to distract your scholar, right? From 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. or whatever the case may be, that is his zone. That is his learning area. No one's going to bother him. No one's going to distract him. Or it could be a little corner in your living room, right? Maybe there's a little desk. Maybe there's just a little corner for your child to do, to engage in their activities. I shared the example that in my household, there are 3 families living there, right? My mom and dad's house, sorry. There are 3 families living there, and there are 3 school-age children. And each one of them literally has a different corner in that household. My nephew has the dinner table. My other nephew has like a little desk, a student desk in the living room. And then my niece in her bedroom has a little desk in there as well, right? And as a family, we're all in agreement. Nobody bothers them. That's their zone. We're not turning on the TV or the radio as they're doing their work, right? Another recommendation are routines. Yes, 8 a.m. It's painful. I understand. It's painful for me too. I had to get used to waking up this early. And how did I do that? Well, it took me about a week. I had to set my alarm, and I had to have a fixed morning time, wake up time, and a bedtime. Your scholar is no different. They're gonna need that consistency, right? And practice makes better. And so the earlier we start practicing that, the better and more successful they will be. There will be physical activities throughout the day, and you will learn more about that when you look at your scholars' teachers' classroom schedule, right? We want to make sure that they're getting up and exercising. Accountability, what do I mean by that? 1 point person. It could be you, the parent. It could be another adult, the nanny, the older sibling. We want one constant person that will listen to your scholar, that will affirm any questions, any nervousness that they may have, and be supportive, right? What else do I mean by that? That person is also their cheerleader, right? Wakes up in the morning and gives them a pep talk. Okay, Joshua, you're gonna start a school day today. You can do this, sweetie, you can do this. You're gonna start with your Zoom session. We'll take a break at recess. Your schedule is posted maybe near their workstation. You can do this, mijo, right? And that same person is gonna close the day with them, right? You're gonna have that talk. How did it go today? Did everything, were you okay with everything? Did you do all your assignments? Let's check together. They need that cheerleader, especially at this age. TK through second grade. Upper grader might be a little bit different, but even they need someone who's going to hold them accountable, but is also going to be their cheerleader. And last but not least, we talked about rewards. Yes, especially at this age. And it could be something daily, it could be something weekly, right? And what I mean by that is not necessarily money, right? I'm not talking, hey, mijo, I'm going to pay you $1 if you finish this assignment, or $5 if you finish all your weekly assignments. And that's up to you. That's at your discretion. But we want to be mindful that if we keep that up, that if we start that, we've got to keep it up too, right? We talked about intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. Intrinsic comes from within. And it could be in the form of just a compliment. Mijo, you are the champion. Wow, you had a great day. You persevered. That is what a superhero looks like and sounds like. That's an intrinsic reward. An extrinsic reward could be something like, you did an awesome job today, mijo. Guess what? After dinner, you get an ice cream bar, right? Or they get the choice. You had a great day, Joshua, so tonight you're the one that's going to get to decide what we're having for dinner, right? Those are rewards that students respond to, right? And it could also be something as simple as, mijo, you get to decide what movie we're watching for family movie night. Our students love that. They respond to that. It really doesn't take that much. We've got to shift our thinking and not always think about money or stickers, but they might need that as well, right? To start off. But that's your judgment. You know your scholar best, and you will decide that as a family how you're going to proceed with that. I showed our parents an example of my nephew. This is one of my nephews that I mentioned. This is his workstation. He gets the dinner table, right? As you can see, it's bright and airy. There are no distractions, but I will warn you that there is a kitchen in there. My mom does cook in there, but you can't see this here, but he has a set of earbuds right there next to him as well. His Chromebook is near a power outlet, right? If you notice, there are no beverages, there isn't a soda near the Chromebook because accidents can happen. His learning materials are right here. He has a little basket actually where he keeps all his notebooks, his workbooks, all there. We recommend that for your home workstation. And as you can see, he's sitting on a chair. He's not belly down on the bed, right? On his bed. He's sitting upright, he's alert, he's comfortable, he's on task. Just wanted to show you a visual of what we mean by that. Next, we moved on to a schedule. You will receive your scholar's teacher's schedule. And what we did is we walked through what a typical day will look like. 8 a.m., there's that start time. Now, some teachers will let you know that they're going to be available before that 8 a.m. time. Right? And they might have some office hours before that. We'll let the teacher inform you about that. But we begin with an opening meeting. SEL, social emotional learning time. What that will look like, your scholars teacher will probably ask them, how are you feeling today? There might be a video, there might be a cool activity that they're going to engage in to talk about those social emotional needs. Building background, movement, what does that mean? PE time, a quick stretch, right? 10 minutes. And SLA means Spanish language arts. It's their reading language arts time. As you notice, I hope you notice that all these are color-coded green because that means they're all in their Zoom. They're all engaged in that Zoom session. But don't fret, I know this looks like 1 hour and 10 minutes. Remember, the teacher built in that stretch, that get up and move time. This orange time, what does that mean, Maestra? Well, that's small group time. And so what that'll mean is the teacher will keep a couple kids in that Zoom session because she's gonna meet with them in a small group. But the rest of the students, this is a time where they're completing some assignments on Seesaw, right? And it'll probably be related to that language arts reading lesson, right? Your student will be completing that task on his own or with obviously with your support, right? And then what do we have? If we were at Russell, we would have a recess. So it transitions into that break. That's their time to eat their banana, eat their morning snack, right? And then what happens? They go back on Zoom. They have their math lesson with their teacher, and it's green, so that means all the students will be there at the same time. And then the teacher will transition into a small group time. She'll pull a small group of kids. Joshua, Jacob, you two, and Emily, you're gonna stay behind with me. The rest of you folks, go ahead and complete your, maybe some math assignment that she has posted on Seesaw. What happens at 10:40? Maybe they do some kind of PE activity together. She turns on some kind of movement video. They get all jazzy with that activity, right? And then she closes a meeting with her students at 10:50 before they break for lunch. And what do I mean by closes? Well, at 11:40, you're gonna start an ELD, an English language lesson. But guess what, folks? They're not going to be having this lesson with their homeroom teacher. They're going to have another teacher that's only going to speak to them in English and will be conducting that English lesson. And I know you're asking why. As a dual language program, we want our students to hear their homeroom teacher strictly in Spanish. And they're going to have that other teacher in English, because remember, that main teacher, that homeroom teacher, cannot break code. Right? So what do? We have that other teacher. The teacher switch classrooms, right? For those 30 minutes. You will be hearing from that teacher, that English teacher with that Zoom link. And then we end with office hours and independent work. Teacher office hours from 12:10 to 1:10. She's available for you too, as a parent. You can log into that Zoom session and ask her some questions about some of the assignments, maybe some concerns that you may be having. And we end the school day at 2:20, right? Officially, right? So what is your child doing? Completing, still working on those assignments. We included the reading for 20 minutes there. Is the teacher still going to be available? Well, she'll be grading some of the work during that time. She'll be giving your scholar some feedback, right? So that will be a typical virtual learning online day for your scholar. And finally, we ended with some resources and important dates to remember and consider. Resource number 1 is your scholar's teacher. And my recommendation is familiarize yourself with that platform, with Seesaw. You're going to maintain ongoing communication with them via Parent Square. Some of our teachers are also using Class Dojo. That's an application to keep track of like their behavior, right? So some teachers will choose to use it. They will let you know about that, right? Number 1 resource is the teacher, as I mentioned, and the way to get in contact with the teacher is Parent Square. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, I strongly recommend that you do, because that will be the number 1 way to know what's going on in the classroom. If you require some assistance on how to download, you can call our office. I will tell you that Parent Square is connected to your parent portal. So whatever email and password you're using for that application, it will be the same for Parent Square. We also took the time to introduce our teachers. Those teachers that were present spoke, mentioned a couple of words, gave our parents a welcome. This is our TK Kinder team. This is our first grade team, right? One special note, Maestra Rojas Gudiño, was actually a former Russell student. And she's so excited to come back now as a teacher, contributing to her community in this very wonderful program, very wonderful way. But I thought I'd mention that because she did share that at the workshop time. We also have our 2nd grade team, Mrs. Sepulveda. You recognize her. She was a kinder teacher. Now she moved on to 2nd grade. And one quick note, Ms. Alvaran is a former Hazard Elementary student. So she is a Garden Grove student, and she was also expressed how happy she is to be back helping and contributing, being a teacher, a Garden Grove teacher as she was a former Garden Grove student. So this is our office staff, Ms. Chrissy, Ms. Leida, Martha. They are also available to answer your questions on Parent Square or on the phone. And if you do happen to come on by to our campus, we just want to remind you that we need to be wearing a face mask, right? For your safety and the safety of our staff. Another resource is our Russell website. I mentioned that you're going to zone in on that one, our homeschool support. I am updating it, and it will have a couple more vital links there for you. I also mentioned our upcoming events. All dates are already programmed right there in our Russell website, so you can see what events are taking place. And I also reminded you, did you know that we're famous? We have our YouTube channel. You do know that because that's how you were able to access this video. But I just drew their attention to other resources that we will be posting on our Russell website. So that's another resource for you. And then I pointed out the fact that you can subscribe to our channel, and I highly recommend it so you get alerts when I post a new video. And last but not least, we ended with important dates for you to program on your iPhone. I did remind everybody that these are programmed in Parent Square. Parent Square also has a calendar feature in the app. And these are also on our Russell website. August 21st, big important date. That's this Friday. We are going to be distributing materials. What do I mean by that? Workbooks, student workbooks. Our teachers also shared with our parents that they will be handing out certain materials that will be vital for their class. So for example, kinder may have some paper, some scissors, certain things that their scholars will need to complete some of the activities. And that's going to be taking place from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's going to be in our NPR. You're going to see there are going to be different doors for each grade level to come and pick up their materials. And I do want to remind you, we will be wearing our masks. We want you to be wearing your mask too, right? For the safety of yourself and us as well. August 24th is the first day of school. That's next Monday, 8 a.m. Yep, 8 a.m. We start bright and early, but we're going to start a different way. We're going to start with a school-wide assembly. We've got a couple of surprises in store for you for that morning, and you as a parent are welcome to join us, right? We're going to hear from our principal, Mr. Chang, and our assistant principal, Ms. Haas. And finally, September 3rd is back to school night. You will be getting an invitation from your scholar's teacher via their platform. So you want to make sure that you program that. They're going to give you the exact time and the exact link. And last but not least, we are going to continue our grab and go meal program. It'll be daily. It'll start the first day of school, August 24th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You will be receiving a meal ticket, a meal card from your son or daughter's teacher. That's why it's important that you come that August 21st to pick up those materials. But we are going to continue. One of the things that I clarified is, no, your child doesn't have to be present for you to pick up the meal. And you don't even have to be present to pick up the meal. You might assign the grandma, nanny, another adult to come and pick up those meals. That's perfectly fine, so long as they have that lunch ticket, right? As long as they have that handy. And that concludes our presentation. Sorry we missed you. We are navigating this Zoom, and there could be some technical difficulties for you and for us as well. So we apologize up front if you had any difficulty entering our Zoom session. That did conclude our session, and if you have any questions, you know you can reach out to me via Parent Square. I am Maestra Gil. I am the instructional coach of our dual language program, and I support all our teachers, our administration. You are welcome to reach out to me, but I highly recommend that you reach out first to your scholar's teacher with any questions or comments that you may have. But thank you for joining me via YouTube, right? I just modeled an asynchronous activity, and I'm gonna go ahead and pause this video, and thank you for joining me. Have a good year.